Hi, I'm James Jones with Home and Commercial Inspections, and I'm walking you through a mold building assessment. So we have a couple of different types of cladding on this building or facade. We have some solid masonry and we have some veneer stone. But what we don't have is a brick ledge. So there's no flashing and the water is getting into the building. So is it relative humidity or is it actual leak, okay? So we're gonna determine and figure that out, all right? What we'll do is we'll set a calibration on the machine. So you wanna verify your pump. So you wanna start your calibration and then get your flow rate. So now we can start and we know we're moving the correct volume of air. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually do what they call an outdoor control or a background. We're outside, we're gonna record our location or where we did our background at. And these are cassettes that are paid for from our laboratory. So we're gonna set 75 liters of air outdoors to just see what species of mold are in the air out here. You know, there might be particular plant-based species or whatever that live in this particular environment. We're gonna figure that out, okay? So our cassette has stopped. We've collected our 5 minutes or our 75 liters of air. And so we're stopped here. So we're gonna go ahead and close this sample up and label it as our outdoor control. Now we've made it inside into what they would call a compliance area. The outdoor control was non-compliance. This is your background. So the first step that we're gonna do is we're gonna do what they call a visual mold assessment. So you're gonna take a light, you wanna cast a shadow on the walls, you wanna be, parallel with the wall, and you wanna make sure that if you can see any settled spores, anything over top of areas where spores will settle over doors, windows, etc. And we already know that we have an issue with the brick outside. So we know we have a water intrusion issue where we have, maybe it's not weeping, flashing, whatever the case may be. Well, behind the code base, we have some mold. We're gonna test that, but we're gonna come back to that later because we wanna continue with this visual assessment to see what other species of mold possibly could be here, or what other sources or water source could be here. Mold typically grows on cellulose material. So if we're looking at wood, pictures, paper, and here we have over here, we actually got some mold on this paper over here. So that's showing you that we have some kind of elevated humidity in this space. Now that you know that we have mold in the space, because we have physical spores, we have hyphae, we found all kinds of indicators that we have some kind of a water issue. You want to get a little bit more intrusive, maybe take things apart. We'll take that access panel off, but we want to look at the relative humidity in the space. So here we have a relative humidity meter to show us what the relative humidity is, and it's 30% inside of the building, and it's 67 degrees. Mold grows between 40 and 100 degrees and above 60% relative humidity, but it's cold outside. So we know as the temperature rises outside, the humidity may rise, and you have maybe a possible water leak with the exterior cladding. So there's some kind of an issue going on. So we want to look at ventilation and insulation as well. So we probably want to do what they would call a duct sample inside of this space as well. What we're going to do is we're going to run our compliance area air sample, and we're going to do our bulk test. So we're going to do a quick sample. We're going to start our air test. So that's step one. I also need to know if there's any moisture in any walls or anything. So I'm going to use some thermal imaging to indicate that. So I'm gonna get out my thermal camera and I'm gonna look at some of the places that I think may have some water intrusion going on. So we're looking here and we see some kind of deficiency here on the thermal camera. So that's showing me that I need to test this with a moisture meter, but I also need to look in these areas around the windows because this is where there possibly could be some water intrusion. And we also know that because that brick cladding outside is having an issue. Try to do a pinless moisture meter test. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to check these walls to see if we can get any elevated moisture. Down below the code base, we're going to use our pins. And so we're not getting any elevated moisture. At the time of inspection, we're going to document all this by photos. So what we're going to do is, I want to know what this species is. We're going to send this species to the lab, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do some bulk sampling. And then we're just going to lift this and we're going to label it and send it to the lab. Here we have our sample on the biotape. And then we're going to label this and send it to the lab with a chain of custody and write the COC down. What we're trying to determine is live mode and dead mode, what condition it is in. Is it in condition 1, condition 2, or condition 3? What's going on with the ecosystem and where is the moisture coming from? Mode is typically a ventilation or an insulation issue. And then the next steps will be to repeat that same process in compliance and non-compliance areas. Mold grows by one of 3 ways: darkness, water source, and poor ventilation. That is what you need to create the correct ecosystem. Let me walk you through the findings of the report and performing a mold assessment and what the report looks like and what a client will get, or even you. So here we have your cover page, your inspection report, very obvious. And then we're going to have your rules of engagement here, what laboratories we used, so on and so forth. So here's the summary of the first page of the report, which describes the building, how many square feet it was, what we followed in ASTM, what type of assessment we did, which was, we followed the ICRCS 520. We also did it to the Normie standard of practice. Were there any leaks? So here we have several leaks in the building in the acoustical ceiling tile. We also have places where we did the calibration. We're going to have different places where we tested for moisture. You've seen in the other part of the series where we tested for moisture behind the cove base. And then we did our relative humidity check to see in our temperature. And then we're going to repeat that same process in every area, in every compliance area. We're going to check for relative humidity. We're going to do a visual assessment. We're going to go over and over again as we look at the different reports. And then this particular mold assessment report is going to give you, the health effects of the species. It's going to say that it's non-tolerant. It's going to give you all the information you need about that particular species. So here it is here. And so it says it's a decaying plant mineral or soil. It's caused by water damage to the building, ceiling tiles, or any cellulose, drywall, sheetrock. Is its main suitable substrate for indoor environments. And then it can cause different health effects. So it's very important that we understand that toxic mold is a non-tolerance mold. So that's a cause for remediation. And then how to clean it up is going to be based on the ICRCS 520. And so we're going to give a summary with an executive summary to the client to make sure that they know how to clean this species up.